This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good night, Robert Southgate. How are you doing on this wonderful, beautiful night?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Sure, it's a great pleasure. Rob, do tell me, what parts of the world are you in right now?
We're in Illinois. We're in Chicagoland area, so we're in the United States.
Oh, there we go. And which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this specific time in history?
Well, I believe it's because I co-own a podcast network, and I podcast quite a bit.
Tell us about the network and your podcast, please.
Well, the network consists of, at any given time, roughly 100 different titles. So we're a large network. We also produce video. We have a book coming out. We do live events. We do... we run podcast marathons and festivals, and it's just a big behemoth of a company. It's a lot of fun.
Ooh, sounds like fun. So there's a lot going on there. Who did you learn the skill of balancing all of these things from?
That's a great question. It's just over time I've acquired that skill. I recently completed my MBA in marketing, and you have to have a lot of skills there to control your time and to hit schedules. But before that, it was really just out of necessity. I knew that in order to get the podcasts out on time and edited properly, I had to stick to a schedule, and I had to get that out there. So it's just more of a skill that I developed. But at the same time, my wife and I both spent a lot of time reading a lot of books on leadership and management. And, it's just through osmosis. You eventually pick that up, and it just becomes part of you.
Love it. Seems as though it's a strong principle that is called the word communication.
Yes, absolutely.
So why would you suggest other people do that? Be sure to focus on what's important, which is leadership, yes, but added to that as the foundation, communication.
Trying to answer that might be a little bit difficult. I think that actually having communication skills goes down to having social intelligence and being able to translate that into what you do, I think, is vital to success. I think that studying leadership and not just focusing on, I'm going to focus only on business leadership, but I'm not a sports guy, but I've read books by coaches. I've read books by people that are in marketing, by people that are leaders of industry, and also I'll give you an example. Today, I was online and I found a mind map that Walt Disney had used, saying, this is how we do things. And I thought, man, this is exactly the kind of thing that we all should be studying. I'll put a lot out there about podcasting and about the podcasting business. But in reality, I really believe that anybody that's trying to create, anybody that's trying to have their own voice in the world should be looking at any of this stuff and trying to apply it. Like I said, I'm not a sports guy, but if I read a book by a coach, I can see what are the principles he's trying to teach. How is he running what he does? Where are the skills that she is, putting together? And that then can be applied to what my wife and I do with our network.
Love it. That's very powerful. We had a similar experience, Rob, where when we ventured across the U.S. and Canada, because of the amount of people we spoke to, what happened is we got books from possibly everyone we met. And there were so many different topics. I just read one book called No Small Potatoes. I did not know there were so many things going on with potatoes, but it's really fascinating, and I do agree with what you're saying. Communication really carries far and wide, and it's interesting where you can find those potent pieces of information that then support your life.
There was a quote this is going to sound really dorky, so get ready, in the first Superman movie, where the bad guy, Lex Luthor, is talking to his minions, and one of the minions is like, "Boy, boss, you're so smart." And Lex Luthor says, some people can read the back of a chewing gum wrapper and all they read are ingredients, and others unlock the keys to the universe from that. And I've always listened to that in my head and thought, he's not saying that, oh, I'm so smart, I can read this and unlock the keys. I mean, he is, because he's a narcissist. But what's really being said there is, pay attention. There are lessons everywhere. There are answers everywhere.
Love it. All right. Again, amazing audience. You're hearing it live from Robert Southgate, a.k.a. Rob Southgate. Rob, tell me one other thing you've done consistently over the last 3 years, please.
Something I've done consistently. Well, I finished a master's program. That's what I did consistently.
Yeah.
No, I would say the other thing is with my wife and I, we have really pushed this idea of doing live shows and developing a community around that. So when I say live shows, I'm not just talking, hey, we're finding ways to generate income. What I'm saying is we're trying to find ways to build community, to promote podcasting and creativity and give people a voice. And for the last 3 years, that has really been a main focus of everything we do.
How does it make you feel?
Great. I mean, it's very fulfilling.
Why would you suggest someone that's listening do what you've done by ensuring you're doing something consistently that is fulfilling?
I would say that they need to pay attention to what they're doing. Think about it. Use critical thinking when they're trying to create something. Don't just, blindly go, or don't just chase the dollar, because you know what? That may be something you're after, but that is not as fulfilling. And I wouldn't give up the life we have for anything.
Where's the best place for someone to connect with you, Rob?
Well, there's a number of places. We have a website, southgatemediagroup.com. On there's all sorts of places you can email me. There's all sorts of social media on there. You can follow me on Twitter @rsouthgate. You can also find, you're talking about business and leadership and that. I actually have a show that I do. It's one of the few podcasts that I'm actually doing myself right now. It's called The New Media Lab with Robert Southgate. You can find it on iTunes and Stitcher and Google and Spotify. That's a great way to communicate with me, because what I talk about there is podcasting. It talks about new media in general. It talks about business and social media and all that stuff. And it's very much of an ongoing conversation. Through that, you'll find links to me on Facebook and Instagram, on our email, wherever. And you can send an email to southgatesmallbusiness@gmail.com, and that'll go right to me.
Wonderful. All right, Rob, let's switch gears for a moment now, and let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Robert, what is your earliest childhood memory?
Wow. You threw me with this one. Actually, I do remember being very small. I'm not going to say a baby, but I had to be a toddler, and laying on the floor. They put me down for a nap in my grandmother's guest room, and they set up some blankets on the floor, and I had my stuffed animal, which was a monkey that most people find frightening, but I loved him. And I just remember laying there by myself in the quiet, thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. And that's really the earliest childhood memory I have.
Why do you think this memory is so clear?
Probably because that's where it all started. The rest of my life I spent laying there thinking. My whole life is about thinking. And I think that was where it really went from, hey, I'm just kind of hanging out, to I'm going to try to solve my world's problems from right here on my grandmother's floor.
That is so beautiful, metaphorically speaking. Can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind?
Absolutely.
The legacy and the positioning. I was talking to one guy before and we were talking about family business and legacy, but to say that you were laying on the floor of your grandmother's room, it just speaks to the legacy. Of course, you will grow up to the point where you'll have your own room and, hopefully your own grandchildren to follow, but to have the opportunity to think and then choose, again, all metaphorically speaking here, is such of a beautiful picture, if you would, to see painted.
Yeah, wonderful. I absolutely agree with your interpretation.
If we fast forward to when you were 12 years old, what was your favorite song?
12 years old. Let's see. My wife is sitting right here. She could probably help me out. What do you think my favorite song was when I was 12 years old?
That would have been jazz.
Yeah, I actually grew up in a house where my dad was an avant-garde jazz musician. So it was probably either a jazz song, because I didn't listen to a lot of rock. No, you know what? It was a Beatles song. It would have to be. And in fact, at 12 years old, it was probably Hey Jude.
Oh, there we go. All right, what's your wife's name?
Her name is Martha.
Okay, better be Hey Martha from now on, right?
All right.
All right, my friend. Well, we've arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form. So it's yes or no. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready?
Lay it on me.
Rob, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Yeah, my daughter.
Are you married? Yes, Martha.
Yes.
Right. Do you have other children than your daughter?
No.
Do you believe in God?
Yes.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Yes.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
No.
How about 3 hours a week?
More, yes.
What about screen time, the phone and or the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Less.
Rob, if you had to share with us your own unique, real statement, a statement that represents who Robert Southgate is, what would you say?
Never stop creating.
I love it. Rob, again, this was a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
I think that does it. Keep listening to Engel's show and keep following him. This is really fabulous.
Love it. Robert Southgate, thank you for being on what is inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
This segment has been brought to you by Amazel Enterprise.